Okay, so we're gonna watch this video, chat. This is one I saw a few days ago, and I've not watched any of it. The title alone has me feeling like I'm gonna get triggered just watching this video. Because there are definitely a few features that I could name that are controversial. We'll see if it's what I'm thinking of. For those of you watching on YouTube or my stream, this is a video by WillE. He's one of the, in my opinion, one of the top two or three Wrath content creators that are out there right now. If you're watching this on YouTube, I'll leave the video down, the link down below. Please go and subscribe to his channel. Give a like to his video as well, as long as it's good, but they usually are. And for those of you watching on stream, if you have any comments while the video's playing, it's a relatively short one, only almost 12 minutes. Please feel free to say something. I'll be stopping the video to make my my opinions heard, but I have a feeling that there's gonna be some venting here a little bit. So we'll see what he says. But WillE's usually got some really good content. So let's see what this video is all about.
We talk a lot about Wrath of the Lich King, what's good about it and what changes it will make, but it also did things to the game that for many were a negative. Unnecessary convenience steps, making some areas of the game just a brainless time sink, and degrading the community aspect of the game that early versions of WoW had sought to drive. Take this all with a grain of salt, of course, but these are some of the more common complaints about Wrath. I don't think they're going to stop it from being a huge success, but I reckon it's interesting to highlight that even during the expansion...
Hold on, is he talking about Wrath? Okay, so he's talking specifically about Wrath Classic as opposed to original Wrath of Lich King. So I've got to feel that one of the things he's going to talk about is Dungeon Finder being taken out. So
expansion itself, some of these things had started to become noticeable problems. Let's get into it and talk about Wrath of the Lich King's most controversial features. Let's just start it off with a big one, shall we? Dungeon Finder. So
here we go. Let's just start it off. Let's just start it off with this one right away and just get the blood vessels ready to pop. He does make good content. So before he even says anything about Dungeon Finder, and those of you that are watching YouTube, please don't hate me right off the bat. I hate Dungeon Finder. Let me just get that out of the way. I hate it for one reason, and one reason only, and that is that it teleports you to the dungeon. So you have people that just sit in town and they're just like, oh, there's people stop actually traveling around the world. And when this feature initially came in for the last third of Wrath of the Lich King, and yes, I know technically it was for half of Wrath of the Lich King, but it was actually for the last third of patches because the last patch was so bloody long. You could notice the difference in the amount of people that were running around in the world. It felt like it was dead. And this is at a time when their subscriptions were at an all-time high. I believe Dungeon Finder, where it teleports you to the instance, is actually terrible for the game. Now, Group Finder, where it helps you form groups or whatever, as opposed to this monstrosity that we have in game, I don't have a problem with them adding that in. In fact, that's what they're apparently doing. But I don't like the feature where it teleports you, and I am of the opinion that it's good that they're getting rid of it. But they're also getting rid of, like, the Frost Emblems and the bonus XP and all that sort of stuff. I don't care if that's in the game, but I just don't like the feature where it teleports you to the instance. And I know there's going to be some people that are like, but I only have 15 minutes to do a dungeon. I don't want to have to, run. It's part of the game. Like, that you've got to actually travel around the world. Like, that's part of the game where you've actually got to go and explore and go do things. But the teleporting thing is a bit much for me. So that's why I'm happy they're getting rid of it. But I do think they should leave basically every other aspect of Dungeon Finder or whatever in the game.
So the tool we have...
So let's see what he says. And hopefully he agrees, because I feel a blood vessel ready to pop.
in TBC at the moment is a rather rudimentary version of what they use in retail, which is named the LFM, or Looking for More tool. It's missing a lot of features, and players have made their own LFG through the bulletin board add-on, so having a good interface to search for others is clearly a desirable idea. Originally moving from TBC to Wrath, very little changed with this system. You logged into Dalaran, you went to see what the daily was, and then you stood there and spammed to find a party. You're going to want way more badges than TBC, believe me. Patch 3.3 3 did away with the old LFG and introduced the Dungeon Finder tool. Very simple concept: open the interface, choose your role, press find group, wait, and then join a dungeon when it pops. You're instantly teleported to said dungeon.
There it is, instantly teleported. Why couldn't they just make the dungeon finder? If their reasoning for like, if their reasoning was that they don't like, you know, they want people traveling, just make it without the teleporting thing. Just allow it to make your groups, and then you can just go get to the dungeon for whatever way, summoning or what have you.
And you are matched with players across your entire region. This was the second region-wide feature Blizzard had introduced. The other was cross-realm BGs in vanilla, which was patch 1.12. Interesting parallel here, end of expansion feature that makes something cross-realm. And I'm just saying, nobody complained about cross-realm BGs, and they were in Classic from day one. So what are the issues with looking?
That's not true. He's actually wrong there. There were people that were really kind of upset that there weren't. There were people that were actually upset that there was cross-realm battlegrounds. I don't know where he's getting his information from, but he's actually incorrect. A lot of people made a stink about that. People actually wanted to have non-cross-realm battlegrounds at the start because it's a lot of fun to really hate on the people that are on the opposing side. So to say that nobody complained about it, that is just factually incorrect.
For dungeon. People don't like the anonymity it provides. You can be the most terrible person to others and have zero accountability because you don't play on the same realm. Ninjaing items, pulling random packs, flaming, all the good stuff to expect from internet randoms. The activity outside of dungeons of players gradually getting together, summoning, interacting, gone. Just flat out gone. The open world will get a lot more empty because people will be AFKing, doing weapon skill, yeah, that still exists, training professions, and just generally doing something else with their time other than spamming the chat. You don't know whether your tank is actually a tank or a Fury Warrior who doesn't like waiting for the DPS queue time. Maybe the dungeons are simple enough for this to not be an issue, and dual spec is a thing, so at least they can be prot, but trying to deal with somebody who is clearly not set up to tank in any form as a healer or a DPS, and watching them get deleted on every other pack or doing no threat is just frustrating. And the later game ICC dungeons with Forge of Souls, Pit of Sauron, and Halls of Reflection actually do hit pretty hard and will clap lower gear players out. So should anything change with this system? Honestly, I don't want to see any half measures to it. Imagine if it auto-formed your group but then doesn't teleport you to a dungeon. Well, it's going to be either I'm at the stone because I'm a useful person who wants to summon and go but nobody else is, so I just have to wait for them, or nobody's at the stone so I get on my flying mount, point it in the right direction, and then go FK for a few minutes. What's really the point of either of those? So should the whole system just be same server instead perhaps? Well, let's take
It sounds like he's pro teleporting. I'm not.
a look at two of the biggest population servers in the world. Firemore at the moment has a weekly player base of 35,000 players, and Benediction has just under 30k. I don't know, you want a community on somewhere like that? It's an enormous crowd. There's so many different faces there. I'd expect these to peak 50k in RAF as well, by the way. And if you don't want to do it with randoms, just do it with your...
Why is this is a question kind of taking a tangent here. Why does Blizzard not allow free transfers to servers if you're transferring to a server where it's faction and balance? Say like I want to transfer my horde to Benediction, which is like 99.9% alliance. Why do they not allow you to have absolutely free transfers from Fairlina to Benediction? Why are they making it like, why are they not opening that up to maybe try and help the situation? Like, I know you probably wouldn't get a lot, but there are several of us that are actually talking about making characters to go over to Benediction just to run around the world and actually have some world PvP for a change. Like, there are actually people that are talking about doing that, so why not just allow people to do it for free? And then just say, okay, you can transfer your character over, but you can't faction change for like, whatever, 6 months after you get there.
guild, hop on and say, hey, who wants to do the daily? Everyone wants to do one daily dungeon. It shouldn't be hard to find people within your own group. And then if you do want the Chernobyl experience, you can enter the LFD. There is actually something which...
I'm pro teleporting because walking flying to a dungeon is an engaging combat, let's face it. Like, two people make the effort to get to the instance. The rest wait for summons. I mean, it's a role-playing game, dude. Like, I mean... Like, it's not meant to be a game where you're just getting instant matches over and over again. I think I don't know. That's just part of the whole thing where you've got to actually. Should we start teleporting to where quests are done now? Like, I mean, I've got quests on my character where I've got to leave, area, where I've got to leave Netherstorm or whatever, and I've got to go down to Shadowmoon Valley. Should I just be able to teleport there? Yeah, how to kill your world in 101. Like, it's like, honestly, like, why not just teleport to wherever you're hey, my mob's here. I don't want to have to travel that distance. Can I just teleport to these mobs? I've got a quest that I've got to go do in Shadowmoon Valley. Can I just, like, where does it end? That's ridiculous that you don't actually have to travel around in this role-playing world. Like, I don't know, man. I think maybe if that's what you're looking for, I think retail's kind of a better version of the game for you, maybe. You've got to actually travel around in the world. That's part of the game, as far as I see it.
Which I really believe they should take into consideration. It was a hotfix made in Kata. I'm not going to read a lot of it here, pause if you like, but I think if you go over it, you will agree all of these seem like very sensible things that should be in the LFD. I'll go over 2 of them. If there is a group of 3 or more friends and somebody in that group.
New World is great, no mounts. I'm not going to lie, that's one of the things that I do like about New World. For people like myself, there's going to be people that are watching this video that absolutely love the whole like mount farming stuff. And I get it. I get that you like your mounts, and there's some mounts that I think are cool too. But you cannot deny that mounts, flying mounts, I mean, in particular, they absolutely make the world feel dead. Like, there's people like that you can't even see that are flying above you or whatever. If everybody was traveling around on just basically a ground mount, you would see a lot more people around the world. It would be a lot more engaging. Would it be slower? Yes, it would be slower. But I think, like, if you're a fan of World PvP, and again in Classic, I told people that flying mounts were not a problem. You could find people faster and PK them and stuff like that. But I was wrong. And I noticed it immediately in TBC that there's flying mounts were a problem. For that sort of thing. And the reason why is because it takes people out of the actual world and puts them like way up in the sky where half the time you don't even see them, So I don't like things like that make the feel less alive.
Initiates a vote kick of a random party member, it now requires 4 votes to kick the player instead of the standard 3. The penalty for using the vote kick feature too often will now not allow the player to initiate a vote kick for 2 hours, up from 45 minutes. Yeah, I think whenever Wrath's out, it would benefit from every change made here. Hopefully Blizzard sees this and takes it into consideration. But it wasn't just Blizzard who were adding controversial features in Wrath. Players had a go at it too with the Gear Score add-on. This gave each item you wore a numerical value, which added up to your total.
What's your gear score?
Gear score. The higher your gear score, the better gear you had overall. Easy, right? So what didn't people like? Well, first of all, the add-on just didn't do a very good job of actually judging how good your gear was. There's more to this than just item level and raw stats on something. Sometimes an item from an old raid was just so good you were wearing it for a long time, so your gear could be correct, but somebody else has a higher gear score. Gear score was part of the grand rise of player screening. The 10-man normal content was designed to be easy and accessible in Wrath. Hugging saw a huge rise in popularity throughout the expansion, and badge gear with each new...
You know what? This is actually a thing. Maybe I'm just old. Chad, am I just a dumb old boomer? Like, I love the idea that I'm in a guild where if I need to get a dungeon together, a ZA together, or whatever, we've got people in the guild that want to do stuff as a guild. I hate the idea of pugging. Like, I absolutely hate the idea of pugging. I hate the idea of LFG, LFR, because you're playing with people that you never get to know, and after you're done your raid, they basically just disappear, and that's the end of it, right? Like, I hate that. Like, that's why I don't like LFG, LFR. I just think it makes the game kind of, I don't know, not social. And that's why I play MMOs. I like to have that social aspect in the game. So
major patch meant everybody had access to really good epics. So how do we know how good somebody is really? Link your gear score and achievement. You could fake achievements through add-ons and equip random high item level gear.
Wait, you can fake an achievement through add-ons? I did not know that.
To make your character appear better. People didn't like being screened for content without being given a chance. Yet over time, gear score would carry on to be considered a relevant number.
You're in a perfect guild. That's what guild is meant to be. I mean, what I just don't get why people want, like, they would choose to actually pug or do a GDKP. I get, they want gold and stuff like that. But I find it so much more fun to raid with the same people and get to know people. And, like I've got people in my guild that, whatever, they've just had a baby and I know about it because we talk all the time and, what they do for a living, or, the fact that they're stupid and they're like a Toronto Maple Leafs fan or something like that, right? Like, immediately if they're, if they like really dumb, really stupid sports teams or what movies they like you get to know these people. And that's what I initially fell in love with MMOs way back in Ultima Online, because I was getting to know people, and I don't get why people like doing GDKPs with people that they don't know. It's kind of like if I was to choose to go out with, like, on a Saturday night, do I want to go out by myself and be around a bunch of strangers in a bar, or do I want to go out with a bunch of my buddies and have a good time? Like I mean, I can go to a bar by myself. I probably wouldn't have anywhere near as much fun, but I would enjoy going out and having drinks or dinner or whatever with a bunch of buddies or a bunch of friends. So,
and in retail today is now a full-on part of the game. I kind of doubt the same add-on will make a return for Wrath where everybody will use it again. If it does, I think players will actually make a quote-unquote correct gear score, where say a BIS item is worth 100 points, second BIS is worth 90, and so on for each patch. Can't wait to see the arguments over what's BIS if that...
Hey dude, that's my BIS. I'm looking at you, Lemmings. Next time I take you out for drinks, you're going to add a BIS gear score to that's my BIS, please, for me. Thank you.
That's the thing, because people love arguing.
Hold on, let me catch up on chat. I want to play WoW as a multiplayer game. A lot of new people want to play it as a single player game. Oh, why play a multiplayer game as a single player game? The social aspect has to do with the difficulty of the dungeons raid and not how things are formed. If the content is too easy, there's no need to communicate anything. I just don't find playing MMOs as a solo player to be that fun. Am I in the minority here that actually, like, one of the main reasons why playing an MMO is actually to socialize and meet other people in the game? Or is that just weird now? Cat had good heroics at the start, and some people complained about it because it required teamwork. That's ridiculous. My guild got a yearly summer party where we meet up for one weekend. The guild that I'm in, we've talked about, like, having a weekend away in Vegas. We've talked about doing that. The guild that I was in before, like the one that I was in for Ultima Online and stuff like that, Ultima Online all the way up through Guild Wars 2, we were together for like 15 years or something like that. There were people that actually, they flew down to LA and all met up and stuff like that. I'm sure the next BlizzCon, I go to, I'm guarantee I'll meet people that are in the guild. For sure, there will be other people from Tyrants at BlizzCon.
About gear. Moving on though, raids, they're a little hit and miss. I've talked about it before on the channel, but tier 7, that being revamped Nax 1025, Eye of Eternity and Sartharian Talair are all very much straightforward and are going to be run over in no time by how knowledgeable the player base is these days. And then later we have Trial of the Crusader. This was the first tier where Blizzard tried heroic raiding, but heroic didn't share a lockout with normal, meaning at the time players were doing up to...
Oof. This is a change I'm glad they made. So now the lockouts are shared together. So you your 25-man heroic and normal is going to be on the same lockout, so you don't have to. You're not raiding like 4 times a week type of thing. I was joking with people on our Discord during our last raid. I said it's too bad that we're not that everything's going to be on the same lockout. I was looking forward to telling you guys you had to raid 4 raids a week on each character, but I'm personally very happy that they've actually made this change. I'll be honest. I'm happy that they made this change.
The 4 different versions of the same raid each reset. Whilst I think Ulduar and ICC will be great, half the raiding content the expansion will provide has cause for problems in difficulty or repetitiveness. These were also complaints during the actual expansion, and both the raids that saw problems had them addressed in their respective follow-up tier. Ulduar added hard modes to have challenging content, and ICC had shared lockouts between difficulties. Now, if we look back to TBC, where Blizzard chose to stagger raid releases, we had about 3.5 months of Karag, Rule and Mag, and I think most people erred on the side of that felt a little bit long for what it was. And what did we have to do
was
in
a little
TBC
long.
apart from raid? You had your PvP, you had your rep farms. And
How do you guys feel now about how quickly the content has gone through for TBC? I'm gonna be honest. When we got to, I guess it was the end of when we got to the end of SSCTK and they brought out Black Temple, some people were already starting to say, oh, they're coming out with content too fast. Then, I don't know how long after Black Temple came out, ZA came out. And that's when people started to go, oh, wow, they're actually rushing through this content really fast. Wrath is going to come out. Because before ZA came out, I thought Wrath was going to come out sometime in 2023, like early 2023. And then ZA suddenly came out a lot faster than people thought. And I was like, oh, hold on. It's probably going to be earlier than that. It's probably going to be around November or something like that. Because it makes sense financially. Like, you think that they're going to release it so that it's in the last quarter of their financial year. So it looks good on the books type of thing with people like resubbing and stuff like that for Wrath of the Lich King. But when ZA came out, everyone was like, oh man, they're pushing too hard. They're pushing too hard. They're pushing too hard. Then we had, I don't know how long of ZA, and then Sunwell coming out. And everyone was like freaking out. This is going too fast, going too fast. I'm looking back at it now. Like, we cleared Sunwell week 2. I think we could have done it week 1, but we cleared it week 2. Looking back at it now and all the guilds that I've seen that have cleared Sunwell, I think they actually probably did it at the right length. Like, I think I'll be the first one to admit, I think I was wrong. Like, I'm looking back at it now, and I mean, I'm sure there's some guilds that are still having a hard time. They're not through Muru and, whatever. But they're eventually going to nerf it. Like, if you're not clearing Sunwell now, is an extra week or two going to make much of a difference? Like, you're probably waiting for it to be nerfed anyways. So looking back at it now, I don't really have much of a problem with the timetable now. So anyways, we'll see. Nax was 6 months classic and it was fine. Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of guilds that weren't clearing Nax right away as well, right? But WoW to enjoy the game. People are okay, but sometimes people suck. Attitude, etc. They come and go. But ask yourself how many people you actually play WoW with that you get met in original vanilla. I bet you can probably count on one hand. Ultimately, it all comes down to having fun. Yeah, but I mean, you can say the same thing about my friends in real life too, Mozovic. I don't know about the rest of you guys. I had a lot of really good friends growing up in high school and stuff like that. I can probably count, well, aside from Facebook, I can probably count on one hand how many of them I actually talk to on a regular basis. Like, that's just kind of life, right? Like, people kind of come and go from your life. So I don't know that, like, I can tell you what right now, though, Mazovic, if you were to ask me how many people on my Facebook page are from gaming, are actually from people that I played MMOs with before or after Classic WoW, Classic Vanilla, I don't think I probably got about 15 to 20 of my old guildmates that I played MMOs with up until Vanilla started that are on my actual Facebook page that have added me as friends. We've kept in touch and stuff like that. I don't have a single person from post original Vanilla that I've added as my friend on Facebook because there was never that bonding in the game like there was back then. Like, you got to understand, back then in Ultima Online and stuff like that, you would sit at a person's house. Okay, imagine this is someone's home, and you're a PvPer we would sit and camp this house for 10 hours. Just like people in the guild in the group, because we were waiting to kill some SOB because he killed one of your guild members. You get to know some people really good when you're sitting camping a house or doing stuff like that for like 10 hours. Like it's just a different game. It just different social whatever system in the game where you got to know people and you became good friends with these people. You know, like it's just different. I still have a Facebook group from Original WoW Guild. We do too. We've got a Facebook group from the guild that I was in, and we still keep in contact there. You know, like there's guild members of mine that I played with back then that are older than I am. They're grandparents now. Like they're a couple of them are retiring. Like it's like we were the original you know, people that played MMOs and stuff like that. So you should get used to constantly making new friends for MMOs. All mine are spread out between multiple games. We never play together these days. I would say there are none of the people that I played original vanilla with that I'm playing with now. But there are many of those people that I still keep in contact with to this day. And a few of them actually come into my stream. And I've told this story before as well. When I started streaming, I was watching, you know, a Swifty video or whatever, saw a link to his Twitch, went to his link, and I was like, how is he even doing this? I don't even understand this. And I was at the point where everybody that I had been playing MMOs with had basically quit gaming. They've got wife and kid aggro suddenly, like they don't have time to play video games. And you know, the games that were coming out weren't even that good anymore. Like Age of Conan was supposed to be the first WoW killer or whatever, or, you know, like stuff like that. And they just got kind of tired of playing MMOs, and we were all like old school PvPers. Like World of Warcraft is not a good PvP game compared to what we were used to. Like it was ruthless back in the day, and we just didn't like it. So we played vanilla for a little bit, but ultimately we went back to other games that were more PvP orientated. But we still keep in touch with each other. But anyways, when I started streaming was during WoD, Warlords of Draenor. And I was bored out of my tree because I was playing WoD, and basically I had no friends left in the game. I had nobody to talk to, nobody to really play. And this is why I'm giving that comparison, is I don't understand how people play the game that way, because it was so boring to me. And I saw Swifty streaming, and I was like, that's kind of neat. I wonder how he does that. So I literally Googled how to stream on Twitch, and came across the program OBS and downloaded it, figured it out, you know, and a couple of hours later I had my own stream up. And a couple days later I had somebody that actually said something in my chat, and I was just like it was like, oh my God. And immediately I was hooked to streaming because it gave me that social aspect that I'd been missing from playing video games. Like, I love playing MMOs, but there's an alliance here. Holy crap. There's actually an alliance on this server. It gave me that aspect of, you know, the social aspect back in the game that I was missing because I was basically a solo player that didn't know anyone in the game. And by Warlords of Draenor, they already had, like, looking for group and all this other stuff where you weren't getting to know the people in the game. So I was just consistently pugging with other groups and not really getting to know people in the game, and it would get bored. Like I'd play Warlords of Draenor for like 3 months, and I'd be like, okay, I'm tired of this. I'd stop playing video games, or I'd go play something else. You know, come back for the next expansion, play that for like 3 months, realize I'm bored, I don't have anyone to play with. But it was when I started streaming that suddenly people were in my chat like you guys are now, and I was having a great time. And keep in mind, like, this was not like something you didn't stream for money. Like, I mean, back then to get it partnered, you had to like average 500 viewers for like several months in a row to even be considered. I was streaming for like an audience of, you know, between 10 and 20, you know, with like no real thought of ever being partnered or anything like that. I was literally streaming just because it was fun to talk to people and through streaming, I actually met people in game to actually play with. And it actually brought me back that social aspect where people from my stream would come and play with me, and we formed formed a guild then, and just started to having fun again. But that's what MMOs are to me. I don't understand how people can like pugging. Like I just don't get it. I think it's the most boring thing to do in the game. Anyways.
And the big one, attunements. Getting revered for heroics, farming your badge gear, the Kara quest line, and so on. In Wrath, there's PvP, there's rep farm, there's achievements, no attunements though. Well, okay, you need one person to have killed KT to do Eye of Eternity, but that's not much of a hurdle, is it? Personally, I'm treating Phase 1 as Wrath as the same as TBC, the setup phase. Do my professions, farm gold, do any weapon skill, set up alts for professions or cap them for raiding and so on. If Blizzard came out and say, hey, guess what, we're doing optional tier 7 hard modes, sure, I'd be down for it. I don't think they will do that though, not just due to the effort, but there's a lot that goes into it, like tuning, rewards, and achievements.
Well, they're already making Nax harder, so is that not hard mode already anyways? Like I don't know how much harder it is. Like what are they doing? They're increasing the boss's health or something, right? I haven't even read up on what they're doing, but from what everyone's saying, you're still gonna cakewalk over it. Make a good point. I see what you're saying. I like the social aspect of WoW. Socially, you notice a huge difference between Vanilla Classic and TBC Classic. TBC equals raid logging. Yeah, I mean, I just think, I mean, I make no, like, there's no secret that I prefer vanilla to TBC, and which is funny because when we were playing vanilla and people were like, "Hey, Alodar, what's your favorite version of the game? What's your favorite?" And I would tell people that vanilla is my favorite, but TBC was right under it. Now, after having gone through TBC, I can like totally say vanilla is by far my favorite version of the game. By far my favorite version of the game. There's things that they've added to TBC that I can't stand. And there's things that happen in TBC that I don't like as well. But
the Crusader, however, I wouldn't be surprised if they take the change.
Oh, and by the way, I used to say that Wrath was below that, specifically because of Dungeon Finder. Like that was the one thing where I was like, I don't like Dungeon Finder because it teleports you to the instance. I would love to see what the game would look like if they took away flying mounts. And I guarantee you there's people that are, if you're watching on YouTube, please don't give me a thumbs down for these comments. Just think about it. Think of how much more alive the game would look if we didn't have flying mounts. So please don't give me just an opinion, okay? Just an opinion.
Change from ICC and make the difficulty share lockouts, just so we aren't clearing the room 4 times a week. Next, leveling and looms, or heirlooms specifically. In Wrath,
you guys like heirlooms? Yes or no? Do you like heirlooms? No? Gucci loves them. MV Johnson doesn't. I'm going to be honest, I'm not a fan of them. I don't mind them like increasing or decreasing the amount of levels, but making it so that you're just basically one-shotting a mob, it's like why not just give them the XP at that point? If you're going to just give your players items where you're just basically one-shotting a mob, why even do it? Like at that point, like just I like what they've done where you need less XP, but you still have to actually go out and kill the mobs, like one thing that I don't like about retail, and I watch there's a couple of retail streamers that from time to time I'll tune in. But more often than not, it's somebody on their warrior that's just doing a whirlwind through like 30 mobs, and it looks like it honestly looks like they're playing Diablo or something. And I'm like, how is this fun? It's the same thing when I watch Diablo. Like I don't get Diablo. I played Diablo 1 and Diablo 2, and at the time I really liked it. But when I see people that are just, whirlwinding through like a pack of like 20 mobs, and I just don't see that that's fun. I like to feel that there's a little bit of a challenge or something like that. So heirlooms are sad, takes away from the joy of finding new gear. True. This is a big thing. I think heirlooms ruin world PvP. They do, unless everybody's got them. But heirlooms are nice when you're leveling your 5th ult. But you're do you like it because it's allowing you to one-shot mobs, Nixon, or because it allows you to level faster? Like, if you like it because it allows you to level faster, just increase the amount of XP that the person's getting. Just so that the game doesn't seem so like, oh my god, like, you know, like, there's got to be some challenge to the game, you know? Otherwise, leveling up would just be boring as... Anyways.
There's a few different ones. There's weapons and trinkets, these just give stats, and then there's the shoulders and chest, which give 10% bonus XP each, and a ring from winning the Kalawak fishing derby that gives a further 5%. What actually are heirlooms though? How do they work in Wrath? Well, they're items that are account bound that level up with you, equipable all the way from level 1 through to level cap, and they're bought in Dalaran using badges which are obtained from a whole host of different things. The idea here is to make alts easy to level. You essentially will never take an heirloom off from the moment you equip it until level cap, both for the XP benefits and the fact they're just really good items with the correct stats and they do a lot of damage. Already in TBC, leveling has been toned down. Heirlooms will make it really easy. Not retail levels of easy, but compared to Classic, yes, it's extremely noticeable. If you ever get to the point where you're on a fully loomed out character, you're going to be surprised by how fast the leveling can be. Back in the day, WoW was still on a growing curve at this point in time. New people were joining, or level cap players were leveling alts. It was seen as the turning point of leveling just becoming easy and oversimplified. Oh, and don't forget we had the LFD system on top of this. You can smash those in.
Hold on, I just want to go back and look at that chart. See, I was always told that Wrath was the peak of subs. This line here, though, it looks like it's like just ever so slightly higher in Cataclysm. Maybe it's just my eyes, but I don't know. Anyways, obviously it started to go down at this point. Jesus, I guess a new expansion, you know, you got people, you know, I'm going to say this as well. When I saw the trailer for MOP, I immediately was like, this looks this looks stupid. And I ended up not liking MOP. When I saw the trailer for WOD, I was blown away. I was like, oh my god, this looks amazing. Just proof that a good trailer does not mean it's going to be a good expansion.
Cap players were leveling alts. It was seen as the turning point of
An
leveling.
average Wrath has the most, yeah, but it looks like the actual peak of the most subs that they ever had. It looked like it was in Cataclysm.
Oversimplified. Oh, and don't forget we had the LFD system on top of this. You can smash those in looms. You know what leveling change I want to see in Wrath? Them to add the Night Elf Mohawk back into the starter zones. I pity the fool who doesn't. Next is something I mentioned recently, but I just have to include it here because it was so controversial. World of Warcraft's first ever store mount was added to the game in patch 3.3.3.
The only store mount that I have ever bought was the Warforged, whatever it's called, Knight, whatever, because somebody on my stream paid for 3 of them. That was what he actually he still watches my stream from time to time. He donated, I think it was $25 each, $75 or whatever it was, $30 each. And basically the message of the donation was, here's an amount for you and 2 other people for you to give away on stream. That's the only one in the store that I've ever actually bought.
$25 was the price of a mount that probably should have dropped in Ulduar. But...
And I get when Asmongold does his mount offs, does it include bought mounts? I actually don't know. I actually don't know. I don't know if you're allowed to use bought mounts. Like if he's like for no store mounts. Okay. That's good. That's actually good.
But I guess Blizzard liked the Invincible model so much, so they wanted another way for people to get their hands on a horse with wings. This time with bonus sparkles. It definitely...
I think heirlooms are fine, mainly because if you're using heirlooms, you already have a max level character. So leveling a 10 times isn't a challenge. Everyone thinks it is. Heirlooms make it fun to level, seeing big crit numbers. True, but like we said before, what about with the new players who are just getting absolutely one-shot by somebody that's got heirloom gear? You know what I mean? Like, why not just make it so that you get more XP per mob killer for your quest or something like that, so you still level up as fast as if you had heirloom gear, but it doesn't give you a massive advantage over someone else. So...
made waves in the community in 2010 for all of the wrong reasons.
No store mounts or card mounts, okay.
Literally every store mount that's ever been put in the game. It looks unique, you can't get it in the game, and you're already paying twice to be able to play. WTF, Blizz. Finally, the community. WoW players. It all started to get more divided. The old guard of players began to resent the convenience and accommodation offered to the newer era of players, labeling those who started during Wrath as Wrath babies. These guys had no idea how hard the game used to be. Nax 40, 0.1% of the player base cleared it, if that. This new Nax Ramus is a joke. Heroics were super hard in TBC, now I can face roll them with randoms. Attunements would take us weeks to do, and now you can just walk into any raid. Leveling in vanilla was hardcore, it's just so easy now. For us now looking back, having redone Classic and the majority of TBC, we know that Ascent.
Here's an interesting stat. And I know it's been proven. Other people have made videos on it. I think Stay Safe made one. There's other people that have made videos as well. That TBC has more people playing it than retail. TBC, where you've still got to get achievements. You know, you don't have heirloom gear. You know, you don't have dungeon finder. Like all these, you know, quality of life changes and stuff like that that they don't have added. More people are playing TBC than retail. Like, that blows me away. Like, I'm obviously a fan of Classic. And there was obviously way more people playing vanilla than retail. Does anyone here think that more people are going to be playing Dragonflight than Wrath of the Lich King? Is there anyone in my chat right now that thinks more people are going to be playing Dragonflight than Wrath of the Lich King? I'm actually curious to see if there's anyone that thinks that. And I'll be the first to say there's a couple of features that they've added to Dragonflight that I'm like, They're going back to the old tree system. That's kind of neat. Two Dads, do you new expansion always pop off for a while? There will be more people on Dragonflight launch. Do you think there will be more people for Dragonflight launch than there will be for Wrath of the Lich King? Like, I'm not talking like at launch. Like, if Dragonflight launches like 3 months later and comparing the two populations now, you think that there will be more people playing Dragonflight at launch than more people playing Wrath of the Lich King at launch? Best experiment. You know what? I don't think so, guys. I'm gonna go out on a limb here. I think there's gonna be way more people playing Wrath of the Lich King than Dragonflight. Wrath of the Lich King was the most popular expansion of all time. Everybody is going to be playing it. All the retail players are going to be playing it. But I can promise you right now, there's a lot of Classic players that are not going to be playing Dragonflight. Classic is a very niche community. Then what is retail? If more people are playing Classic, what is retail? If Classic is a niche community, what is retail? Right? Like, there's way more people playing Classic than there are playing retail right now. If Classic is a niche, what is retail? I bet you 1,000 Alodar bucks. All right, 1,000 Alodar bucks. I don't know what those are, but 1,000 Alodar. I don't even know if I'm legally allowed to bet. Twitch, if you're watching this, that's not actual currency, so don't worry about it. You think it's a wider audience? I would be interested to see what the numbers were for, I just think people are getting tired of retail. I think people are getting to the point, like, I've bought every expansion that has ever come out except Shadowlands. I finally was like, you know what? And I know a lot of other people that are like, they're not buying Dragonflight. Alodar bucks is the latest cryptocurrency. Oh God, better go invest.
Essentially, people back then, well, they just kind of sucked at the game. They knew less, they had less information available, but that's not to say some of these things aren't certainly true. Heroics are more simple, achievements are gone, and revamped Nax will prove to be much easier than vanilla version. But that is Wrath, those are the decisions that were made then for the game. We've enjoyed Classic so far with minimal changes to core features. After all, it's an old game that brings back good and bad. I wouldn't bother with trying to get overly involved in changing things too dramatically. maybe you don't love everything about the expansion after all, and that is okay. Seasonal servers are where changes will be, if they are a thing one day of course, which I reckon they will be. Eventually. That's everything though. Let me know if any other features stand out to you as controversial in the expansion. As always, thank you all so much for watching and listening in, and I will see you all in the next one very soon.
All right, another really good video by WillE or WillE, sorry. Again, if you're watching this video, I'll put the links down below in chat, and if you're watching it on YouTube, please go subscribe to him if you haven't already. Another outstanding video, of course. Give them a thumbs up. As far as like controversial stuff that they've got in, like, here's my thing. I want to play the classic versions of the game as they were back in the day. I understand they're easier. Like, I understand that Nax is easier, but I want to play the game the way it was developed back in the day. My dream would be able to play it patch by patch by patch by patch the way they did it back in the day, but we're not going to get that. That would be the ultimate dream, being able to play, you know, like the very early versions of, you know, Alterac Valley or something like that in vanilla. But we're not going to get that. They're not going to put that much effort into it. So as far as the changes that they made into Wrath, to get back on track with this video, I would be hypocritical to say I want everything to be exactly the same way and then say I'm glad they're getting rid of Dungeon Finder. I guess that's a little bit of a hypocritical thing to say. So if you were to ask me if I'd be okay with them keeping Dungeon Finder if it meant that they would release the games exactly as they were before, I'd be okay with that. I'd be like, yeah, you know what? I would bend on them actually bringing in Dungeon Finder with teleporting if they could give me everything else exactly the same way as it was before. Because one of the things that you hear from Wrath players or people that are pissed off that they're removing Dungeon Finder, is they're like, oh, it was in the game before, and it was like, okay, it was in for the last third of the patches. It wasn't really in for the entire expansion. But there's so much else that they've already changed that they shouldn't have as well. Let's see. Dragonflight viewer has less viewers than Star Wars: The Old Republic. I'm, you know what, guys? I'm positive that Wrath is going to have way more people playing it than Dragonflight. Like, there were hardly any people that every expansion it's going down. It's like, I don't know, people think that Dragonflight's going to bring people, like, it's going to have like 8 million people at launch again. It's just not going to. I think there are so many people excited about Wrath of the Lich King. Wrath of the Lich King will have more people playing it on day one than Dragonflight will. This is the hill that I will die on. For sure it will. You want to play as it were back in the day, that includes the bad stuff, right? That includes the bad stuff, dude. That includes the bad stuff. I want to go through the whole thing. Vanilla private server pops going up. Oh, yeah. If you guys want to talk about like private servers and stuff like that, if they don't come out with vanilla right after Wrath is done, private servers are gonna pop off. Like, people are talking about them going to they're gonna move to Cataclysm and stuff. What do you guys think is would have more of a population? Here's a final question for this video and stuff like that. It's going a little bit long. What do you think would have more of a population? If after Wrath was done, they went to Cataclysm, or if after Wrath was done, they went back and had actual fresh vanilla, no changes. Okay, none of the season mastery garbage or anything like that. I'm talking fresh vanilla or fresh classic. Which ones do you guys think would have a higher population? No, Claybird, come on, don't make it. Which one do you think would have a higher? It's like, let's make this difficult. Which one do you think would have a higher population? No, between Cataclysm and Vanilla. It's like, okay, never mind. This is a tough question, I know. All right. Guys, I want to thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed the video, enjoyed my commentary, it's now people are answering. I would appreciate the subscription and a like on the video. It really, really helps me out with the algorithm, of course. If you want to talk to me about anything to do with gaming, whether it's World of Warcraft or any other MMOs, if you want to talk to me about anything nerdy, Game of Thrones is coming out soon. There's some other really good shows that are coming out as well. Feel free to stop by my channel. I stream 6 nights a week from 9 p.m. Eastern until really late at night. It's like 5:30 in the morning now. So anyways, thank you for watching the video, guys. Again, I'll talk to you guys soon. Talk to you in the next one. Take care.